So it's been one of the highest flyers in the crypto world. Riot Blockchain. Its stock soared from $8 to more than $40 just 2.5 months after changing its name from Bioptics. We wanted to find out more about this company and who's behind it. What we found is one investor in particular who got in and out at the right time.
Riot Blockchain, formerly known as Bioptics.
They were selling medical equipment. Now all of a sudden they're a blockchain company.
Do the normal shuffle, and there goes the stock.
The stock has soared more than 600% this year.
I'm not sure that this is actually a blockchain company, so you need to be careful.
Riot Blockchain in the news after it changed its name last October from Bioptics, a medical equipment company. The stock shot up from $8 to more than $40 over the next 2.5 months. It sounds somewhat like the kind of newly minted blockchain company the SEC might be interested in, as the agency's chairman testified at a recent congressional hearing.
Are you concerned that companies may be utilizing blockchain as a scheme to pump up their stock prices?
Nobody should think it's okay to change your name to something that involves blockchain when you have no real underlying blockchain business plan and try to sell securities based on the hype around blockchain.
We wanted to find out who was behind Riot Blockchain, but for weeks, no one would talk to us. So we decided to see if we could get answers here at the swanky Boca Raton Resort and Club in Florida. That's where Riot's annual shareholders meeting was set to take place. It would be an upscale setting for this upstart company with red ink as far as their most recent quarterly report shows. But as we quickly learned, that annual meeting wasn't going to take place. Twice, Riot Blockchain announced they were going to hold their annual shareholders meeting here at the Boca Raton Resort and Club. Twice, at the very last minute. In fact, the night before, they announced they were postponing the meeting. And in fact, the hotel tells us there was never a meeting room ever booked under the name Riot Blockchain. So we drove to this nearby office building, trying to find Barry Honig. According to SEC filings, he may be the man behind the curtain. He was an early investor in Riot, back when it was Vinaxis, a medical testing company, and then eventually Bioptics. He led an activist move to replace the board, and he eventually won. The new board changed the name from Bioptics to Riot Blockchain. Hello. Hi, Michelle Caruso Cabrera. As the elevator door opened, in front of us, not Barry Honig, but this man, John O'Rourke, the CEO of Riot Blockchain. The same John O'Rourke who made news in December for selling about $869,000 worth of Riot stock just 2 months after the company changed its name. O'Rourke quickly closed the door. 5 minutes later, he emerged and agreed to talk to us, but only off camera. He said he was here for a meeting with Honig when we arrived and that we had just missed him. O'Rourke insisted that he does not work out of Barry Honig's office, even though we found him there. During that hour-long off-camera meeting, O'Rourke told us his Riot stock sale was merely to pay taxes on his restricted stock. And as to the sharp rise in shares of Riot, O'Rourke said that was unexpected and ridiculous. He also said he isn't worried about the SEC because we over-disclose. When asked about Riot's business model, he said it's a combination of strategic investments in crypto-related companies and that soon Riot would be mining Bitcoin. And as far as those no-show annual meetings, O'Rourke told us there wasn't a quorum of shareholders needed for a vote and that additional corporate actions were in the works that would require a shareholders meeting. O'Rourke repeatedly promised to talk to us on camera, as long as it was a week and a half later after some key announcements, and he would even come to New York to make it convenient. We took him at his word. His emails to us say the interview was confirmed, and I believe you will be impressed. In the meantime, we went looking for Barry Honig, because according to SEC filings, he once owned more than 500,000 shares, or more than 11% of Riot's common stock, which he bought before it was Riot. And that's not all. After winning his fight to change the board of directors, SEC filings show he accumulated another 700,000 new warrants, which he could convert to stock at $3.56 a share, and more than 700,000 promissory notes, which he could convert to stock at $2.50 a share. After the company changed its name to Riot Blockchain 7 months later, the stock soared to a high of $46.20. Since Honig wasn't at his office, we went to his home. That's when he finally called us back and said he would think about talking to us, but only if we left. Finally, Honig did agree to go on camera the following week while he was in New York, only to back out 2 hours later. But he did agree to talk to us by phone just 2 days ago. He downplayed his influence with Riot and John O'Rourke.
John O'Rourke is adult, and he makes his own decisions. Okay?
In 2000, you were fined for $25,000 and suspended 10 days by FINRA for stock manipulation, and you're no longer a licensed broker. Do you still manipulate stocks?
The answer is no. Continue. I'm a successful investor. I'm a comfortable person. I don't need to work today. I have a beautiful family, again, college educated, and I'm very comfortable. I'm very comfortable. The truth will come out.
Honig acknowledged he's done this before. 5 years ago, he and John O'Rourke were involved in another company that changed its business model to blockchain. That stock also skyrocketed. Today, it's trading around $2 a share. Oh, and it's changed its business model again to cloud computing for cars. We asked Richard Burns, a securities attorney, to review Riot's SEC filings.
When you look at Riot blockchain, do you see any red flags?
Yes. I see a company that has had a change of control of the board. I see a company that has had a change in business. I see a company that's had several dilutive issuances immediately following the change of the board and change of the business. And I see a stock that has gone zoom. And what I understand, a significant amount of insider selling. And so, yes, these are red flags.
As a securities lawyer, what would you tell potential investors about Riot?
Well, in my position, normally I'm not telling investors whether to buy or sell securities. In fact, that's not my job. But if the question is, are there things that an investor should be wary of, I would say absolutely. There are things that when I look at these filings, they are outside the norm.
Just this week, a new filing from Barry Honig, which shows he sold a massive amount of shares. His common stock down to little more than 173,000. So, as Riot was issuing press release after press release, promising great plans for the company, Honig was selling, making millions of dollars along the way. As far as John O'Rourke, his promise of a confirmed on-camera interview did not happen. Remember his email to us saying, "I believe you will be impressed"? Well, he never gave us the chance to be impressed because he never showed up, canceling the night before, saying he needed to jump to the Midwest to try and close an acquisition. The day of the interview, all we got was his voicemail.
Hi, Mr. O'Rourke. It's Michelle Caruso.
And this, an empty chair.
Just this morning, John O'Rourke told CNBC he would do a live interview here on Power Lunch, only to back out 10 minutes later when he found out I would be the one asking the questions. In a previously emailed statement via his attorney, O'Rourke told us that increased regulation and transparency is ultimately good for the sector. Unfortunately, as with many new hot sectors, it has attracted some bad actors trying to capitalize on the hype. He went on to say, Riot is all for increased transparency and properly imposed regulation. Minutes ago, Riot Blockchain released yet another press release defending the company, including its activity in the cryptocurrency space. Riot said that they are, in fact, a blockchain company. There's much more to this story, and you can read the full version on CNBC.com.
And that's, first off, incredible reporting by you and the team. That stock down 32% right now. What's amazing to me is that it looks like from Honig and O'Rourke, this is not their first time to the rodeo. There was another company that they together were involved in that had changed its name and business practices a couple of times, now involved with cloud computing?
Right, and so they've been in business together on a couple of companies, on several companies. In fact, John O'Rourke used to have his office in Barry Honig's office. That's according to Barry Honig himself. So they've known each other for a long time and have been involved in other transactions.
But O'Rourke denied to you that his office was in Honig's office, at least at that time.
Exactly, yes, as did Barry Honig.
But at one point they were together.
Yes, according to Barry Honig.
Honig said that himself.
He used to have space in his office, yes.
Look, you played in that piece the analyst warnings about the name change and what does this company do. Was there anything that you found that was clearly illegal?
So Barry Honig denies that he has done anything illegal. When we spoke with that securities attorney, I think if he were advising Barry Honig, he would have told him, you should have filed your SEC filings much more quickly. When you're a significant owner in a company, you have to file what's called a 13D. which is you tell the SEC and the investing public how much you own, when did you buy it, at what price. He only filed 2 over a period of 13 months. And the one he filed just this week said he sold a large position in late November. That was 2 months ago. Attorneys I spoke with said, you need to file within 24 hours, 48 hours. And Harvey Pitt today, who used to run the SEC, said 10 days maximum.
Okay, so again, I'm not an attorney. I do have a law degree. It's a very dangerous distinction. But I will, this is an interesting point that was right at the beginning of your piece. You'd noted that the annual meeting had been postponed twice. And they had put out that the annual meeting was going to be at the Boca Resort and Club. Then they postponed it. But you talked to management at the Boca Resort and Club, and they denied that any meeting space had ever been reserved. So there may be some legality there on putting out a public document stating that there's a meeting at that time and place with a publicly traded company, when in reality, according to the resort, it was never scheduled.
And we were exhaustive at the resort. I mean, we checked under executives' names, the 2 former company names, John O'Rourke's name, et cetera, and they told us they had no record of any affiliated party actually booking rooms for those specific meetings.
You know, it's such a great, that empty hallway, I think it's such a great advice for investors, not just, if you're in a small, fast-growing company with a lot of hype, go to the annual meetings, right? I mean, and if there's no one there, call Michelle.
And if you can bear it, read through the filings. Right. Because they can reveal a lot about what's going on.
No. That's a scam. Yeah. No.